to Charlotte in North Carolina for what promises to be a particularly dark and, depending on your perspective, disturbing edition of Headbangers Ball. Sex, mutilation, pornography and weird medical fetishes are all a part of everyday life for the self-proclaimed sickest band in the world, Marilyn Manson. Tonight we're joining the band on their US tour to find out why, with their new album Antichrist Superstar, Marilyn Manson created music to bring about the apocalypse.
Whoever shall upon the name of the Lord shall be saved! Bullshit!
As a preview to their upcoming European dates, this show should tell you everything you ever wanted to know about Marilyn Manson, but were too afraid to ask.
God damn y'all right, shit!
Yes, indeed. Tonight, Headbangers Ball has it all. Malice, makeup and mayhem with Marilyn Manson. And it's our pleasure to join Marilyn Manson on their US tour. And I must say, Marilyn, it's a pleasure to meet you guys. Welcome to Marilyn and Twiggy. How's the tour been going?
Very well. It's been sold out everywhere, so everything's going good. Only a few bomb threats, so we're still alive.
Well, I wanted, first of all, actually, to congratulate you on the album going in the US Billboard chart at #3. And I was just wondering, has Marilyn Manson gone to the mainstream? Has the mainstream gone to Marilyn Manson? Or perhaps, as I like to think of it, maybe like a big festering boil on the back of the mainstream?
I always felt, rather than play by the mainstream standards, you know, we've always done what we do, and the mainstream has finally, you know, decided to like that. But we've only gotten more extreme, so the band hasn't gotten more commercial. It's just that more people understand where we're coming from, so more people are into it.
Absolutely. So just because this is the first time that we've interviewed you on Headbangers Ball, could you explain kind of the concept and the vision that you had for Marilyn Manson when you first formed the band? What was that all about?
Well, the idea, I was writing a lot of lyrics 5 or 6 years ago, and the name Marilyn Manson, I thought, really described everything that I had to say. You know, it expressed the dichotomy of my personality, the combination of extremes, you know, male and female, beauty and ugliness. And it was just very American. It was a statement on American culture, the power that are given to icons like Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson. And since, you know, that's where it's always gone from there. It's about that paradox and that diametrically opposed archetypes.
Excellent. Well, we're going to go to the first video from Antichrist Superstar, and that's for the beautiful people. Twiggy, who are the beautiful people?
Not us.
Is it maybe your fans?
Well, the song is kind of challenging the fascism of beauty in America, how there's a real status quo of what you're supposed to be, and yeah, it would be our fans. It would be anybody who, you know, society really considers ugly. You know, we consider beautiful.
Yeah, looking at it from a different perspective. And for this video that you did suffer for your art, by the look of it.
Yeah. Well, there's always pain involved.
Absolutely. All right, well, we'll talk to Marilyn Manson some more, but right now we're going to check out the new video from Antichrist Superstar. And as we said, this is The Beautiful People. And I'm not sure, I guess you can relate a lot to that particular song. What's Marilyn Manson's attitude?
It's usually based in individuality and being a strong person. Antichrist Superstar is a record about you know, finding faith in yourself and killing off the old ways, you know, that you've been raised in things like Christianity, and considering other alternatives. A lot of the philosophers that I really grew up enjoying were, you know, Nietzsche and Freud and Darwin and Aleister Crowley and Anton LaVey and some of these people.
Right. So from your perspective, it's a very positive message in the album.
It is, you know, I don't think it's an offensive or shocking record. I think I'm just saying my story on my terms, and for some people it might be extreme, but, you know, it's not intended to be.
Right, now you have said that it is a concept album. What's the concept based on for Antichrist Superstar?
Well, it's more of a soundtrack to our lives, which is more of a concept in some ways. You know, it's like you write a story that kind of, or you create something that takes you over, and then it begins writing you. The story is basically a biography of, you know, my life, and there's a lot of different metaphors. I use the metaphor of a worm to kind of describe the more vulnerable time when I was a kid, and I really didn't have my own opinions, and then sort of transforms into this angel, which is really Marilyn Manson, and then the final stage is Antichrist Superstar, which is the more nihilistic, totalitarian element in everybody's personality. That there's a real struggle on the album and in my life between, you know, that power, you know, what do you do with it? You know, where does it go?
But I read somewhere that you also said it was kind of to bring about the apocalypse. What exactly did you mean by that?
Well, as a kid, I was, you know, constantly terrorized with the idea of Armageddon and the Antichrist and things like that. And as I got older, I realized that, you know, something like Antichrist is the collective disbelief in God that everybody has in them. And it's not so much as one person, but, you know, it's like I look at things like everybody wears a crown, but someone has to stand and be king. So I'm the person who stood up and said, as many others have tried in the past, that, you know, you can believe in yourself. So it's more of an apocalypse of the subconscious, you know. It's not so much the destruction of the world as we know it. The things that you hear on the record, you know, are kind of what you see live in so many ways. I mean, it's not so much theatrical or contrived. It's because just by nature we're very volatile and unpredictable. So but there is a representation of that metamorphosis.
Right, okay. Well, we will be checking out some Marilyn Manson live a little bit later on, but right now we've a new video for you on Headbangers Ball, and it's coming from Tool. They've got a new album. And actually, we'd like to talk a little bit in more detail about the live show, because we've seen reviews and gig reports in the press, and it seems that the Marilyn Manson live show is very volatile and very unpredictable. Now, what happens to you guys when you get on stage?
There's no telling, you know, because it's very ritualistic for me. It's my favorite thing is performing. So there's no way to really describe it other than to see it. It's everything, you know, that people would expect it to be, I imagine. So. Sometimes, you know, we've talked about, we feel like we're watching the audience, that they're performing, and we're just up there, and we're the audience. So it's for me, you know, I feel there's a lot of points in the show where I debase myself in a way that to kind of express to the audience that we are the same, that they're just as much a part of it as I am, you know. The audience likes to spit on me and things like that, so it's very ritualistic, and everybody feels like they're a part of it.
I just wondered, because you have such an air of mystery about you, I wondered whether you were actually accessible to fans or not.
In some ways, no, but in some ways, yes. I mean, I think maybe by people seeing the way I express myself, it makes them feel like they can do the same in their lives.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I do think that's a very, very positive message, and I'm going to ask you some more about that a bit later on. I'm going to try again with you, Twiggy, now, because you're being very difficult. But what is your intention to offend as many people as possible, or is it really just that you want to be talked about?
I think I'm trying to offend myself more than anyone else.
Okay.
I can't speak for him, I don't know. If we wanted to be offensive, you know, that would be really easy, but I just try and do things in a way that people remember them, and, you know, that makes people think, but being offensive, you know, is it's boring.
Okay.
Easy.
Okay, well, we'll see what Marilyn and Twiggy are talking about, because we're going to check out some live performance from the Grady Coral Center here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and see what Marilyn Manson get up to on stage tonight. Live performance from Marilyn right now, and then more from Marilyn after the break. So stick around as the Headbangers Ball Marilyn Manson US Tour Special continues. Anything could happen. Headbangers Ball. That was D-Generation debuting on the show with their new video, and it's taken from their brand new album No Lunch, which was produced by Rick Ocasek of The Cars. And there's no way out today for Marilyn Manson and Twiggy because they're suffering my questions here backstage in North Carolina, good old Charlotte in the US of A. And Marilyn, I want to concentrate more on the Antichrist Superstar album right now. And I would like to ask you, in what ways do you feel that you kind of challenged yourself during the writing and the recording of the record? Was it a painful process? Was it a long labor and then giving birth, or what?
Well, a lot of the songs have been in our heads for a long time, you know, even longer than our first album. But I started writing down dreams that I'd been having over the past 5 years. And it inspired me so much that I wanted to really open up my subconscious. So we started, you know, experimenting with different things to tap into parts of your mind that you normally wouldn't get at. So, you know, like sleep deprivation and these pain rituals and, you know, of course, the illegal things like drugs and stuff like that. And, yeah, it was a very long, painful process. But the good thing about it was we weren't concerned about, you know, if this song, you know, can I really say this, or is this going to be played on the radio? All of the ideas were very pure, and they were straight, you know, from the heart, you know, more or less.
So comparing it to Portrait of an American Family, would you say it's like darker and kind of more, perhaps more introspective, and is it angrier maybe?
It's bleaker, you know, because there's a lot of moments of, you know, true pessimism. But I think in the end, it's there's a shred of light at the end of the tunnel. But that's for everybody to find on their own, you know.
Bit of a magical mystery to it then.
Misery.
Misery to it. All right, okay. The lyrics, some people have said they're, you know, very negative and quite disturbing. What do you think a psychiatrist would say about you and your lyrics?
I don't know if he'd even want to deal with me.
He wouldn't take you on as a patient.
Well, he'd make a lot of money because he'd have a long time trying to... you know, I'm not afraid to express the different elements of my personality, you know, and I think there's a bad habit in America now to, you know, label people having multiple personalities and things like this, but it's, you know, I feel like even on the album I describe myself as a hydra, which is, you know, many heads, many different personalities. I don't think you need to be one specific person when you could be many.
Moving on, a little bit earlier you mentioned the kind of the multiple personality side of Marilyn Manson, and a bit like Bowie inventing Ziggy Stardust, you created kind of the Antichrist Superstar for this album. Why did you feel that you needed this persona to get the message of the album across?
Well, there's a parallel there. I'm glad you noticed that with the Ziggy Stardust, because that album when I was a kid was very inspirational to me. But it's something that you know, America has kind of created for itself. The very fear of an antichrist, the very fear of someone in my position saying what I have to say scares them, and it's that fear that has created it, you know. Mm-hmm. They've almost asked for it, so it's just very appropriate. It's very American in many ways.
And how is the Antichrist Superstar different to Marilyn Manson? Is he's like your another ego?
Well, not necessarily. I just think it's what we all eventually evolve into, you know. I always have a lot of idealistic hopes and, you know, want to make things better, but the Antichrist Superstar is the element in anyone's personality that's, you know, very nihilistic in that instead of wanting to help everything, would rather see it destroyed.
Do you think everybody's got a bit of that in them?
I think so.
A lot of what the album's about seems to be about attempting to change people's perspectives, which is, I think, is a very interesting concept. Is that why the album, you can enjoy it on many different levels? Is that partly because of that?
I hope so. I mean, I don't expect everybody to get something, you know, deep out of it. Some people can just listen to it for music or get their aggressions out. But I think with any great, you know, painting or movie or album, wherever it is, you know, it's better if, you know, people can take what they need from it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not forced or expected to get some particular message.
Okay. Would you say that conformity, or being forced to conform, is a lot to blame for the ills in today's society?
Well, in a lot of ways, you know, it's just, in America, TV is very fascist, and so is Christianity, but it's disguised in a way that you're led to believe, you know, it's all very capitalistic and you can do what you want. But the fascism kind of is created by this whole status quo of, you feel like, with all these commercials, oh, if you don't use this type of deodorant or you don't use this shampoo, your friends aren't going to talk to you, and it's a real guilt. And I think guilt is the biggest problem in America. You know, people are always feeling guilty about being themselves. You can't say what you want because it's not politically correct. You can't look like you want because your people at the office aren't going to like you, and so on.
But also, I think conformity is like one of the worst things for kind of stifling creativity as well. Wouldn't you agree, Twiggy?
Sure.
Hello, wake up. Anyway, we're going to just take a little bit of a break from Marilyn Manson because we're going to be Eddie from Iron Maiden. Where is he? No, he's in his box. Yeah, sorry to disappoint you. Twiggy wants to meet Eddie from Iron Maiden, but I'm not allowed to interview Eddie, actually. He doesn't do interviews. Anyway, enough of that. After the break, we're going to be catching up with Marilyn Manson's support band, New York Loose, and see what they've got to say for themselves. Thank you for that. You don't want to hear what you said off camera. Anyway, then we're going to talk to Marilyn some more. We've got a Marilyn Manson competition to come as well. So stick around. We'll see you after the break with New York Loose. Here's some Marilyn Manson live to take us there.
You gotta follow your fingers. Trade them in for dollar bills. Take a price of make your teacher fall over time. Wake up and not check it, 'cause you're just wasting time. Don't you want some of this? Don't you need some of this? Got someone can make you back. You're like what can I be red hair? It's this time on my rapping up in soil trying. You're never really what you red hair. I'll be your lover. I'll be forever. I'll be someone I'll be your lover.
To Headbangers Ball, Marilyn Manson US Tour Special, and we just enjoyed a great video there from 9 Inch Nails, Head Like a Hole. And talking of 9 Inch Nails, Trent Reznor is somebody that Marilyn and Twiggy know very well because he produced their new album, Antichrist Superstar. So, Marilyn, I just wanted to put it to you that working with such a great musician like Trent must have been a very satisfying and also, rewarding experience. Do you think that you allowed his influence to come through a bit more on this record, and also he co-wrote some songs with you, didn't he?
Yeah, we approached this one more open-minded. We had a lot of songs that were written on the road, Twiggy and I, and we wanted an outside opinion. And our guitar player left at the beginning of making this record, so Trent plays guitar too, so every now and then if he had an idea, so it came in. We were, you know, in the past, the songs were songs that we'd been playing live, so they were kind of set in stone. But this album, we wanted to approach kind of like the White Album by the Beatles, and just anything goes. So, yeah, it
no
worked
limits.
out good. Yeah, it worked out good.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, you just mentioned you had to get a new guitarist. That was Zim Zum. So how come Zim Zum didn't get a celebrity and serial killer name?
Well, he was more of joined Antichrist superstar in some ways.
That was Dungeons and Dragons character's name.
All right.
And he just transferred it over to the band.
That would be a good trivia question right there. What does Zim Zum mean?
I don't know the answer to that one.
It's an old religious term, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, because I thought today I could be called Alanis Ripper. Do you think that's good?
Ripper by Judas Priest.
No, like Alanis Morissette and Jack the Ripper, you know. I was just like getting into the Marilyn Manson vibe.
All right, we'll go with that.
Okay. Anyway, let's get serious here. Now, the lyrics on the album would suggest that you're perhaps you have a negative outlook, you're very angry. Where does that anger come from? Did you feel like an outcast when you were growing up?
Well, I've always felt on the outside looking in, but it's easiest to express all of your emotions, whether it's anger or love or anything in between, in what you do. So, I mean, I don't think everything that I do is angry, but, you know, that's definitely where I put my anger.
Right.
So anybody with any bit of intelligence has got to be pissed off, because if they see how things are in the world, they're not going to be happy with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
I have to say that you make the best videos. All your videos have gone down very, very well at Headbangers Ball. They're so artistic, and you guys just look great. Is that one of the most kind of another of the things that you really enjoy about the expression of Marilyn Manson in the videos?
Film and things like that are really my first love, and so when we get to make videos, it's just as important as a song to me. It's not a commercial for me. It's a whole work of art on its own. So we plan on working on a movie and things like that in the future. So
Fantastic. Yeah.
keep that up.
Excellent. Okay, well, talking of videos, we're going to check out Marilyn Manson's breakthrough video from the EP, Smells Like Children. We're going to check out their cover of the Eurythmics' Sweet Dreams. Sweet Dreams, I think that video is more likely to give you a few nightmares, but then I guess that's part of the dichotomy of Marilyn Manson that we have been talking about. Marilyn and Twiggy's still here. We've got a few more moments to talk backstage on their US tour. And Marilyn, would you say that the band is the ultimate way for you of expressing yourself and allowing you to be yourself?
It's the only way I know how, you know. If this is the only thing people ask me, what else would you be doing? But there isn't anything else. The minute I started doing this, I knew that's all I was going to do.
So how would you describe your personal morality?
Well, strangely enough, a lot of my ideals are Christian in a sense, but it's just I don't like the way that religion is portrayed in America. But I think the album really expresses, when you look at the lyrics, it expresses, you know, how I feel. I mean, it's based in individuality and strength and believe in yourself, you know, believing you're your own God.
Well, I think that's a very positive message, and I can certainly relate to that, and I'm sure a lot of people watching can as well. What would you say that you fear? What frightens you? Living a normal life, would that be a bit of a scary prospect?
Usually if
Working 9 to 5?
Yeah. Usually if I'm afraid, I just take it on, I do it, and then I'm not afraid of it anymore. But I think only the fear of failure. So I just try my hardest and to do the best at what I do.
Right. So you said a lot about the reception that you've got in America, that there's an outcry against some of the things that you've been saying and doing. Twiggy, hello. Would you say that Marilyn Manson minds being a scapegoat? Is that of an issue to you?
Space Ghost.
Scapegoat.
Sure.
Antichrist Superstar is, you know, it's kind of, I relate to the story in the Bible of Lucifer, the fallen angel, who was, you know, kicked out of heaven for wanting to be God. And on Antichrist Superstar, I try and explain to people that you may see me as this bad person, but if the story were written from, you know, my point of view or his point of view, would he still be the bad guy?
Okay, well, thank you for explaining that. It's very interesting, and I wish we had more time to talk, but we've come pretty much to the end of the show tonight. Before we go, we've got a Marilyn Manson competition. We've got a goodie bag to give away consisting of a signed CD, some Marilyn Manson t-shirts, and some other bits and bobs. So if you'd like to enter the competition to win the Marilyn Manson goodie bag, we got a question for everybody out there watching in Europe. What's the question, Marilyn?
What's our guitar player's name?
Yeah.
The new one.
Yeah. Name the new guitarist on the Marilyn Manson band, and send your entry in to Marilyn Manson competition, MTV's Headbangers Ball, PO Box 1384, London NW1 HUH in England, and get your entry in real soon. So before we go, Marilyn, this show is going to be aired just before you kick off your European tour, and there's a great expectation back in Europe to see you guys live. Is there a message that you would like to leave with fans in Europe? What would you like to say to them?
Well, this is our first time coming there, so we're excited about that. Unfortunately, you know, our show won't be quite as big as it is in America this first time, but the second time I'm sure it will be. But I hope no one's disappointed. We always give our best. So.
Cannot speak. She crawls up like a crippled lady. Spiders just don't see. Laura Connor, all this boy, silver silent spider league. I never wanted it to ever spoil. Take your hatred out on me. Make your victim mine. You'll never ever believe in me. I am your turning. If it has baby I never wanted it to end like Take your hatred out on me. Make your victim mine. You'll never ever believe in me. I am your turning. What?